So today's concept is arrays, sorry, strings. So what are strings, and how do we deal with the strings in our Java applications that we see today. Strings in Java. Basically, what is a string?
String is a group of words, like name is a string.
Name is a string, and as a definition, how we can define group of characters. A string is a group of characters or collection of characters or sequence of characters. So simply you can tell in either way, basic, very basically. It's a group of characters or collection of characters, anything you can tell. So basically string is what? A string is a collection of characters. Collection of characters. In other words, whenever we are saying it is a collection of characters, what we can say, collection of anything is a collection, then what we can say, it is a array, right? Collection, sequential collection. Means a collection in the string, all the characters are stored one after another, right? So in our programs, even in our memory, how the string is going to be stored? A string is an array of characters. Array of characters or character array. Char array, you can see. So if we want to create a string, generally what we require internally, a character array where all the characters are stored in a array continuously. Okay. Basically, in our other languages like C or C++, before Java, we are dealing with strings in the form of character arrays only, in the form of character arrays only. But in Java, we have got a class called string, which is going to support us in dealing with strings as a single value instead of writing multiple characters in a array, and dealing with strings or all those multiple characters or collection of characters from array. It is giving us, it is providing a class called string, which will make our operations on string are more comfortable and more easier uh, when we are comparing with our conventional approach of dealing with strings as character arrays. Okay. So earlier in C or C++ languages, how it was dealt with strings in the form of character arrays, char arrays. If, see, for example, if you want to create a string in C or C++, how you should create char str equals to new char of what is the size you want for a string, 10 characters or 20 characters, like that you have to specify. You have to specify before storing the value into the string. You have to specify the size. Once if you specify the size like this, character array size, so we know that arrays are fixed in size, right? So when arrays are fixed in size, if you get a string with a value which is containing 12 characters, then can you store that 12 characters in this 10 characters string, 10 characters array? We cannot store, right? In the similar way, if you have only 5 characters content only, then remaining 5 characters memory is wasted here, right? Are you getting the point, guys? Earlier, how was the approach, and with that approach, what is the basic problem? Either we may lose the content when that string is exceeding the size of the array, or we may uh, there would be memory wastage if content is always lesser than the allocated size. Is it clear? Now, yeah, very good. Now, in Java, instead of dealing with the strings like this as in the form of array, what we have got, we got a new class called string, where this string is presented in Java .lang package. So whenever a class is a member of lang package, then what is the uh, basic point that we need to remember? That basic point that should come into our mind is we can use that class without writing any import statement, right? So we don't require to write any import java.lang.string like that to use the string class. Directly we can use. And of course, oh, whenever it is a string, what string is a class, what we need to understand, there would be several constructors and methods presented in that java.lang.string class. So how to know that uh, constructors and methods from string class? We can get the definition of a class using a command java dot sorry java p java dot lang dot string. Command is java p, and the complete fully qualified name of the class we need to give, including the package name. We need to give the class name. Then what happens? This java p gives you all the definition of class. Class, member variables, class, constructors, class, methods, everything will be written here if you use java p. So otherwise, what is the other way that we have to get all class members and methods, member variables and member methods? How do we get? Using the official documentation on internet, right? From Oracle Corporation's official site, we can get all the members of a class, and of course that is more uh, descriptive and elaborative documentation, right? With some simple examples, and from which version it has been introduced, each and every member in a class, every detail will be there uh, in the online documentation which has been provided by Oracle. Oracle is the vendor of Java, right? So it will give complete details, up to date details it will give. Now, let us save it, strings notes. Now, if we see what are the methods presented here, first of all, we need to know what are the constructors that are presented. If you observe here, so many constructors we have. If we have so many constructors, so what do we call all those together? Constructor is nothing but a method, right? Method with different parameters. When we have multiple constructors with different parameters, what do we call that? We call it as, all these are as overloaded constructors, right? A method overloading, right? Same name, different parameters. So overloaded constructors we have. Now we can use any of these constructors based on our requirement, like default constructor, or constructor takes a parameter of type string, a constructor takes a parameter of type character array, constructor takes a parameter of type character array, and start index and number of characters to be taken from that character array, and int array string can be created even from int array and byte array. We have so many constructors that we can create from byte array. So like this we have. So what we can say now, to create construct means Java objects, sorry, Java string objects, what we can use, any of these constructors we can use. So to create the objects, what we should do, we need to use the constructors, right? So here what we can see, creating strings in Java. So how do we create in C or C++? We would have required to write a character array, but when it comes to Java, it is not character array. We are going to create strings like this. String str equals to new, the string constructor, default constructor. So now a string has been created with empty content, right? What we have placed? Nothing. And what is the other constructor that we have? We have the string we can create from character array, right? So if we this constructor, what we have? We have the constructor, this one, right? Like byte array also we have character array. This one we see, or character array int comma int. Any of these things we can see, but we see this constructor. We can create character string from character array. So how to create? So if we want to create a string from character array, how should we need to create string? Let us say this is str1, this is str2 equals to new string, and pass a char array, character array as the argument to this constructor. But what is this char array? Where is it? We should create before calling this constructor. We should create that character array before calling this constructor, and we need to assign all the values into that character array before calling this string constructor. Otherwise, what happens? It will give you compilation error. Cannot find symbol char array, right? So we should create it. So how to create? It should be a character array, char array, or characters. You can give any name, suitable name. Then How to create array in Java? New char. You can create like this, and then char array of 0 is equals to h char array of 1 equals to y. Let us say it as 10 characters array. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. D. B. A. And D. Like this, we can store content into the character array, and this character array we can pass as argument to this string constructor so that a string can be created. This is what we need to do if we go with object oriented concepts. Whenever it is a class, for a class, if we want to create an object, we should create in this way. And what is the other way that we have? Even we can create a constructor from string object from another string object. Right. So how we can do? So here, this str2 we can pass as argument to the constructor and create it as string3. In this way, we also can do. Okay, so these are the different ways how we can use constructors for creating string objects. But anyhow, this approach is not convenient all the times, right? Why? Because uh, assigning values as character by character like this is not convenient. We cannot add, right? So what is the alternative way that Java is providing us to create strings? As this approach is not convenient and not flexible, as we are extensively using strings. Strings మనము రెగ్యులర్ గా చాలా యూజ్ చేస్తుంటాం కదా. ఎవ్రీ టైం మనం ఇలా క్యారెక్టర్ అరే క్రియేట్ చేసి క్యారెక్టర్ బై క్యారెక్టర్ దాంట్లో స్టోర్ చేసి దాన్ని స్ట్రింగ్ గా చేయాలంటే దట్స్ నాట్ possible for us, right? So it is very difficult and tedious task. So what Java has done, Java has given a flexible way to create strings to the programmers. What is that? Just whatever characters you wanted to have as a content of your string, just place all those characters within the double quotes. Then internally Java will create, JVM will create that all characters within the double quotes as a string object for you. So how it is simply, now what we can do, string str4 equals to, simply within double quotes create a string hello, like this you can create. So whenever you are writing, see here how many characters, six characters, hello space, all this we have placed within the double quotes. So it is going to create a string object with all this six characters content in your machine. You don't require to place individual characters like this into character array, and that character array you need not to pass here as an argument for constructor. Like this it will create. Is it clear, guys? The different ways of creating the string objects, different ways of creating string objects. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So so far what we have seen, we are using this approach only, right? From the very beginning program we are using strings. How do we, how we are creating the strings in this way only, right? Now now what we need to do, let us write a simple program and see how strings are getting created and what would be the content in that each and every string. Public class strings demo. Within this what we need, public static void main string args. So the programs you try to practice more and more now, guys, because basics are over now, and what is required, how more programs you are doing, that more practice will come, and the so that you can remember all the points whatever we are discussing. Okay, so now uh, so now if I want to print all these strings constant strings contents, then how can I print? I can write like system dot out dot println str, we can say str1 str1. The similar way all the four strings let me print. So what we can see here, string 2 and string 3 both are having the same content. String 1 does not have any content. String 4 has the content like hello, right? Strings demo.java. Now open command prompt from here and set the path. How to set the path? Set the path equals to C colon program files Java JDK bin. Now Java C strings demo.java. Now Java strings demo. Okay. Everywhere I have printed string 1 only, right? String 1 does not have any content. That's why we got empty output. Have you observed? Understood? Why it is displaying empty all the times? Why I was displaying only string 1 all the time? So that's why we got that empty strings on output. Now we can see the output. See, string 1 empty. Why? Because default constructor. String 2 has content as Hyderabad, because we have passed that character array as uh, argument to this string constructor. String 3 is also having Hyderabad. Why? Because that string 2 we have passed as the argument to this string. So here you can say this is nothing but a copy constructor, right? Next, the suggested way or preferred way of creating strings in our programs is what? Within double quotes. We have given hello, so that hello has come as output here. So in this way we can create strings in our Java programs. Is it clear? Is it clear, guys? Yeah. Now what we do, let us see what are all the methods presented in string. But before that, you need to understand, or you need to remember uh, what happens exactly here, how it is going. How it is going. See here, whenever we are using new operator and constructor, where do that objects are getting created? Where do that objects are getting created? All generally objects are created in our machine. We have different memory areas. We have different memory areas, like a heap memory. Heap memory will be there, and stack memory method call stack, or method area, or stack memory will be there. Heap memory and stack memory means what? Stack memory is nothing but the memory which is used to create all your local variables that you are declaring inside a method. Inside a method you would be creating variables, right? Like for when you are using loops, like a for loop, int I kind of thing, or within the function, if you declare any other variables like int x, int y, and a result, like that, if you create any variables, all that will be created in stack memory. But heap memory is what? Very important memory area, along with the stack memory, that we need to mm, consider when we are writing our programs. So what is that heap memory? Heap memory area is the memory area where all the objects that will be created whenever we are creating objects. hmm, Whenever we are creating objects, all that objects will be created in heap memory. Means if you create here what you are doing, new string, that means what? Creating object, right? Whenever you are using a new keyword, means new operator, that is nothing but creating an object. Here also character array also will be created as object only, and new string, this also object, and this also object. Where do all these uh, objects are getting created? In heap memory only. In heap memory only. Generally, even if you write student st equals to new student, then student object also will be created in heap only. But if we create in a heap, it should be managed. It's that particular object's life cycle should be managed by ourselves. Means memory will be occupied, and in a correct times that memory should be released, so that heap can be available for new objects to be created. But what happens in our program? Sometimes we may require to create the same string objects again and again, and we may require to use that same string objects in multiple places of our programs. In that case, if we create as a normal objects like this in a normal way, the objects of strings in a heap memory, it will be unnecessarily creating multiple objects, duplicating same objects creation again and again, which will be leading to memory wastage. So to avoid that, what Java people has have given us, they given us a new kind of memory area called string literal pool. Very important memory area, string literal pool. So what is string literal pool? It is a memory area reserved for creating and holding string objects, string objects from double quotes, like this. So whenever you are writing any string within double quotes, then what happens? This content will be created as a string object. But where this string object is being stored, this string object is going to be stored in a pool of memory called a string literal pool. A pool of memory called string literal pool or string pool. Anything you can say string literal pool or string pool. You can say in the string pool, this string objects are going to be created when you are using the double quotes approach. Is it clear, guys? And oh, what is the advantage if all these objects are being created in single literal pool? Then what happens? Hmm? In the string literal pool, when a string object is created in string literal pool, and string literal pool, and that object reference is given to other object, still the object from literal pool does not deleted or garbage collected. Does not deleted means in Java we call it as garbage collection. Deleting the objects or releasing the memory occupied by uh, objects in our Java heap memory is called garbage collection. So we can say does not garbage collected, does not collected by garbage collector. Hmm? That means what? Object does not deleted. Garbage collected, but it remains in the string literal pool. So that string literal pool, so that if any other object gets the same content, same content string, then instead of creating new string again in string literal pool, JVM will use the older or existing string as a new object, new string object in our programs or in our applications. So this point we need to remember, guys. Why? Because one of the important interview point of view question, even for experienced candidates also. So what is the string literal pool, or how string objects are getting created? What are the different ways? What is the different locations the string objects are getting created? So if you are using a constructor, like this new and string constructor, then objects are getting created in string means in heap memory. But when we are creating string objects with the double quotes, then objects are getting in string literal pool. Is it clear, guys? Very important. You need to remember, guys, all these points. So later also again try to revise this concept in our video again and again. You need to remember, very basic and very important also. Even interview point of view also, it's very important. So need to remember all these points whichever I'm explaining here. So this is how, this is what happens now. In our example program, we have seen how we are creating string objects, and here what we said here, one object is there, right? In string 4 we have hello. Now what that point means, here if I say uh, s- s- string 4 equals to hi. Now what happens, even though we are removing the reference str4 from hello to str4 to hi. Now what happens, two string objects are here, right? Like hello is one string object in a string literal pool, and hi is another object that is getting created in string literal pool. But it is not having any reference here, so it should be garbage collected, but it not been, it's not going to be garbage collected. Rather what happens, rather what happens, it is going to, it's going to be retained in the string literal pool, even though no reference is there. Now if you say, now if you say string str5 equals to again hello. Now what happens, the already existing object is there, right? Here the same object will be the object reference will be given to str5. Same object reference will be given to str5. So in this way it will go. So that point, if you want to check that and see in the practical, then what we can do, it is internal operations, so we can't see directly in our programs any changes. But how we can do here to observe this behavior, you can write system.out.println. In this we have like str for reference plus str or hash code, we can say hash code. We have a method called hash code. We have a method called hash code, which returns a unique hash code of each and every object. Whenever we are creating objects in Java, every object, not only string object, even for person or a student or employee, everything, you get hash code for every object. That hash code, how you can get, using hash code method, using hash code method, string4 dot hash code. It returns hash code of your object. Hmm, see, as soon as you have created a hello here, you print a hash code uh, with the hello. Now here also you print hash code with hi, right? And string 5 hash code, let us print and see. String 5 is containing what? Again, hello only, right? This hash code, string 4, and here string 5. Now let's compile and run and observe the hash codes, how it's going to print. Compile and run. See, string 4 hash code is what? -21370681114, right? And whenever you have changed string 4 content to high, that hash code is different. Again, if you say string 5 hash code, what did you get? You get the same value, right? So in this way it will be, so that says that same object has been reused, rather creating a new object. Hash code is nothing but it will be given, means it will be created from the memory location where it has been stored, a particular object has been stored. So based on that memory location reference, it will be created. So if it is a new object, memory should be different and it should give you different value. But rather giving the different hash code, it gives you always same hash code. Why? Because as long as you are having same content, it will be using the same string object rather creating a new object. Is it clear, guys? So simple here, what you need to remember, uh, whenever we are writing with double quotes, it does not create new object again and again. If with the same content, if you write double quotes, every time it does not create new object. Every time it will be using only the same object which has been created earlier. If you say change the content, what happens again? It will be created as a new object rather than updating value in string 4 itself. So now in our program, how many objects are being presented as a string literal pool? Two objects, right? One is hello, one is hi. So here it looks like the value of string 4 object has been changed, but actually what is happening in background, it is not changing the value of the object, rather just it is creating a new object, and that new object reference it is storing in the str4. So here what you need to understand, all string variables that we are creating are reference variables only, reference variables only. So new objects are getting created, that new object reference is being stored here. Is it clear, guys?
Yeah.
So now here, what is the other point, important point you need to observe? See, in string 4, I have stored initially hello, and on line number 30, again now I am saying string 4 equals to hi. That means what? Programmatically in business perspective, if we see, we are changing the value of string 4, right? I'm changing the value of string 4 from hello to hi, right? Yeah, guys, did you get the point? What I'm doing here, what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to change the value of string 4, right? But internally, what is happening? It is not changing the value of the object where it is presented hello to hi. Rather, it is creating a new object every time. So that's why what we are saying here, string objects are or strings are immutable. Strings are immutable in Java. That's why in Java, what we are saying, strings are immutable. Immutable means what? Once we have initialized, we cannot change it. So this point also very important, which you need to remember. Of course, this also should be noted like this. Strings are immutable in Java. Why we are calling this as immutable? When we are trying to change the value of a string, it will create a new object every time we change value of a string, rather updating the same string object. Okay, that's why we are saying it is it is immutable, or strings are immutable. Is it clear, guys? Hmm? Well, one of the very important interview point of view question, this also, why strings are immutable, or what is immutable means? Immutable means because every time when we are trying to change the value in a string variable or string object from hello to hi, if I want to change, then automatically it will create. Whenever we are writing within double quotes means what? All the times it will create a new object only. So it creates new object, and that new object reference will be placed into this string reference variable, rather than changing the value here itself in the same object. That is what we need to explain, what is immutable, or what is meant by strings are immutable in Java. Clear? Yeah, guys, is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we pause here today. Tomorrow we'll continue with the methods in string class. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.